And this is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Talking Business, our series of interviews with leaders in the field of banking, insurance, customer service, business education, all to highlight our team at CBSI. We're based in Harrison, New York. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card and payments industry. Now, today we're glad to have back with us Mr. John Witkowski, who's a president of the Independent Bankers Association of New York State, just back from the national convention of the organization. John, good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you, Ken. Thanks. Everything's good.
Very good, very good. Well, you had in 2020, you had a convention scheduled for Hawaii that was going to nominate Robert Fisher to be the national chairman. Unfortunately, that convention got moved to online, but you were able to reschedule the convention out in Hawaii this year. But then you got a big surprise when you got out there. Tell us about the convention.
Well, the conventions for ICBA are always they're always fantastic. They do a great job. They bring in a lot of different speakers. This one was a little different, though. I mean, even though it was a nice trip to Hawaii, long trip from New York, I can tell you that. But it's a great way to bring community bankers together, and we were there that weekend is when SVB and Signature Bank failed, and caught a lot of us by surprise. But the good thing is that all the community bankers were together, and we had the support of ICBA there as well to make sure that we handled the things that we needed to handle as community banks properly.
Absolutely. Well, you're president and CEO of the national organization, Independent Bankers of America. Rebecca Ramey had in a release about the differences between the size of banks of Signature and Silicon Valley banks with as much as 200 billion in assets, and the difference from community banks that they're really completely different. Tell us a little bit about the big differences between banks like that and community banks.
Well, if you really look at community banks, and they all they do is they focus on the people in their community. You know, the larger banks have a much bigger business model about going out and trying to take care of the bigger deals and bigger issues when it comes to banking. But when you look at community banks, and that's what I'll really focus on, is that they care about the people in their community. They know their communities. There's a lot of community banks that are over 100, 150 years old. They've been there forever. And that's what they care about. They're more focused on the people in their communities and the communities they serve. And the larger banks, they do a great job of spreading around their wealth, but they are not focused on the community that these community banks are in. There's much bigger focus for them is nationwide. And when you really look at what community banks do for their folks, they get relationships that are, like I said, 3-4 generations long, and they do a great job with people and the focus on the community.
Very good. And it seems like although the crisis went overseas with Credit Suisse, it seems like it's died down. Is this a sign of the remedies and deposit insurance working and the government officials working correctly at a time of crisis?
I have to be honest with you, Ken. I don't know if it's working correctly. I just think that some of the cause and the effect of what happened in March was due to the fact that there was things that were done that were not focused on in some of those banks. The regulatory environment, they got caught with a lot of hot money. When I say hot money, I mean a lot of VC money. But again, it was just one of those instances that they were wrong place, wrong time, I guess. And for community banks, we were concerned about a little run on because some of the information that came across was saying that these were small banks. Well, they're the top 25 banks in the country. They're not small banks. They're not the mega banks, but they're certainly not small banks. If you look at community banks, they're 10 billion, 12 billion in assets and under. ICBA goes up to 20 or 25 billion for community banks. New York State, we're 12 billion and under. That's a focus of community banks. These banks were 125 billion and 200 billion. So they're not, what we consider community banks or small banks. And when that came across as one of the messages from the government that the small banks, should be this issue hit small banks. We have banks that are 500 million in assets. We have banks that are 80 million in that. Those are community banks. Those are the ones that focus on the community and take care of the people in their community. So I think some of the language that was used, some of the communications that were put out, I think didn't help the consumers feel, or small business owners feel, as though they were safe in the community bank model. And I think when we got out there, and Rebecca Romero-Rainey and the ICBA team got out there and explained that, hey, we are community banks. We're not, one of the bigger, larger banks, which is what these banks were. I think people calmed down, and the banks certainly did a great job of reaching out to the consumers and to their small business owners, saying, "Hey, this is not our issue. We're doing fine. We're doing great." So I think that was the biggest difference. It's more about language and communication, and making sure the right message got out to the people, the consumers and the small business owners.
Well, you and I have talked about the importance of communication for community banks, the relationships that communities have in their with their customers, both consumer and business. What was some of the messaging that you recommended for your community banks to utilize in communicating with their customers?
Well, it was really just a simple matter of saying, "Hey, we're strong, we're fine, we're not going anywhere. You don't need to put a run on the banks." That was the biggest issue. We were concerned that, small business owners and consumers that had over the limit of the FDIC insurance would come and take out their money and put it into other institutions. And to be honest with you, that did not really happen. We checked with a lot of banks, all of our banks, and a lot of community bankers association leaders did the same thing, and it was normal course of business. Now, again, you have hiccups here and there, but it wasn't anywhere near what it could have been if the messaging wasn't put out properly by ICBA and the associations.
Very good. Now, as we mentioned, it was a convention chaired by Brad Bolton, President and CEO of Community Spirit Bank in Red Bay, Alabama. Tell us a little bit about what were some of the other topics that came up at the national meeting.
Well, I got to be honest with you. This was the biggest topic there. I mean, people were concerned about it, but the funny thing about it is that the community bankers all came together. The good thing about it was that they were all together talking about it, making sure they all could handle their situation. A lot of cell phones, a lot of calls being made, a lot of people going back. But some of the other things that we always talk about, innovation, fintechs, relationships with fintechs. How do you work with your core provider and working with fintechs and innovation coming in to make sure that you're at the right place for bringing more ease of use for your customers. More of the digital way of banking these days. So a lot of it had to do with technology. A lot of it had to do with innovation, but the strategy and the business behind it, the higher interest rates these days, people need to have a better understanding of their investments and what's going on with their investments. So it covered a whole range of, strategy, your strategic plan, the higher interest rate, the environment that we're in, what we're looking for the future, and innovation and technology and how they can help.
Very good. And Derick Williams from Milledgeville, Georgia, Century Bank of Trust, who we met at your event last June, your state convention up at Turning Stone. Tell us a little bit about Derick Williams' introduction.
Well, Derick and Brad. I mean, Brad Bolton is a live wire. He did a great job as the chairman of ICBA the last year. He was all over the place. He loves taking selfies. If you look at any of his LinkedIn, he's a selfie nut. He just loves taking selfies with all of his folks wherever he is, and he traveled all over the place. Same thing with Derick. Derick is another community banker, heartfelt, really concerned about what's going on with community banking and how we can help. He's come in at an interesting time to be chairman, and his plate is full. And I give these guys a lot of credit, including Bob Fisher and John Burmaster, two of the New York State community bankers that were chairman of ICBA. Their travel schedule and what they do is pretty intense. And over the late 3 or 4 years that they're in those chairs and on the board, they really do travel, and they do a great job of supporting the ICBA and supporting community banks throughout the nation. So Brad's done a great job. Bob Fisher did a great job before him. Derick is the same thing. He's passionate about what he does for community banks and what community banks do for this country. And I think, again, I think he'll do a fantastic job.
And John, you've got your own state meeting coming up June 12th to the 14th at Turning Stone in Verona, New York. I had the pleasure to attend your meeting last year. Very informative, great speakers. What are some of the agenda points that you'll be bringing up at your state meeting this year in June?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing that up, Ken, because the June 12th to the 14th at Turning Stone is the IBANY's Independent Bankers Association New York State annual convention. And each year we have a great group of speakers. This year we have Federal Home Loan Bank coming in with a panel discussion. We have Mike Jameson, who is a resident of upstate New York and a longtime consultant for many banks around here, giving our economic overview. Does a great job for that. We have a lot of, again, fintech and innovation technology talks. Jim Reaver from ICBA will be there talking about investment strategies and balance sheet strategies as well. So again, it's a packed agenda for 2.5 days. We do play a little golf on Monday, which is always good, and they got some great courses at Turning Stone. But to be honest with you, it's one of those where we look forward to this event every year because it does bring people back together. It's a great networking event. And our exhibit hall, we have 30 exhibitors coming in that touch on from insurance all the way to, again, core deposits to fraud protection and how you can help, a lot of cybersecurity. I mean, there's just a multiple topics that you can talk on, and we have some great exhibitors and great supporters of IBANY's coming to help us this year.
Very good. I know you have a number of meetings and webinars during the course of the year, and then you have another in-person event up in upstate New York, up in Clayton in September, an executive banking meeting. Tell us a little bit about some of the events you have planned for the balance of the year.
Yeah, so other than the convention, we have another couple of 1-hour seminars or webinars, if you will, in the month of May, talking about stress testing for your balance sheet and stress testing for your portfolios. We have these Capital Summit, which is the ICBA Washington, D.C. trip, where we have our bankers go down. ICBA invites all the bankers to come down and talk to your representatives from each of your states, and we set up meetings with the Congress men and women and our senators, and we talk about the issues that are impacting community banks, which is a great couple of days. It's a busy couple of days, but it's a great one. So we're looking for a lot of our bankers to go there. We have Jack Hubbard, who is one of the premier relationship builders in banking. He's a 50-year banker, but does just a fantastic job of teaching people how to create better relationships through whether it's social media or in-person network. He's done a great program. I've worked with Jack since 1995, and he just does a great job of doing that. So that's June 21st, which is a week after our convention. And then, like you said, the one in Clayton, which is our executive symposium, that's open to all of the senior managers of the banks, and we want to get them together. And I think this year we're going to do a little bit more of a fintech or innovation technology for one of the days up there, and bringing in some folks from ICBA. Kevin Twiddle, who runs the services group for ICBA, and I have had a conversation about possibly bringing them up there to do a half day or a day long session on technology and innovation. So we're still in the works of putting that together, but you're invited to come along to that one too, Ken. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see you up there.
Meeting up at Lake George last year and the chance to meet with quite a few of your bankers and suppliers to the industry. So much technology being applied. and we certainly appreciate a chance to attend those meetings. And I know you're going to have some good ones this year. John Witkowski, president of the Independent Bankers Association of New York State. Do you have a final thought for us today?
Final thought is that let's see, community bankers are passionate and they care about their people and they're safe. They're if you work with your community banks, you can know that there's people there that care about what you do and the business you have. So from my opinion and from my perspective, um, you can't go wrong with dealing with the community bank because at least they care and they're passionate about what they do.
Well, John, we certainly appreciate you joining us again today, hearing about convention of the Independent Bankers Association of America in Hawaii this year, and your new president, Derick Williams, national chairman, and also your events coming up this year. And we certainly appreciate the chance to work with you and your organization.
Ken's always a pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And this is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Talking Business. All represent our company. We're in Harrison, New York. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card and payments industry. Thanks to John Witkowski, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.